Hello and welcome back to Tales of Gear. My name is Tom and you're watching another video about the P226. If you haven't watched the last video about this beautiful clone of the early P226, the link is in the description below. So today's video is about one thing on this almost perfect clone that isn't that clone correct as it should be, but something that can be fixed. And today's video is about how to correct this part. The part I'm talking about is the position of the hammer when you engage the decocker. So let's take a look how it was. All of you who are familiar with the P226 will immediately notice that the hammer should be more forward. So let me show you what it looks like now. So this is fully forward and now fully cocked. Okay, let's engage the decocker. Here you go. Compared to the picture you have seen, it is much better now. I have compared it with the real one and it is the same basically. So in this video I will show you what you have to do to make your gun even better and more clone correct. Let me set everything up and then we continue with the video. Back in a minute. Oh, look at that, another background. Well, when I'm working on pistols, I like to use a towel. Before we start, another advice, have your phone ready to take pictures. Each step you take and do, make sure to take a picture. You will thank yourself later. It happens that once you're done with whatever you were doing and start to reassemble it, you will see that you not really remember which way a certain spring goes or where a certain part should be. So the pictures you take while disassembling it will greatly help you with the reassembly. So that's my advice to you. Also, if you have never done that and are not much of a tech guy, don't do it. Give it to someone who has experience, who can do it for you. Don't risk mess up your gun. So you will need patience and a little bit skill, of course, to do this modification, but it's not rocket science, you will see. We can start with the disassembly. So first thing we're gonna do is to take off the slide. This is how we do it. Just like that. Put it aside. You will need it later. So the goal is to get to the hammer. Before we start taking it apart, let me show you what tools we gonna need. Always, I'm having always my trusty Leatherman. This one is from 1993. We need this large flat screwdriver. You will need a punch. This is the 1.5 millimeters punch. Small Phillips screwdriver. And I like to have a pair of pliers. These are handy for all the little springs you might need to take off or reinstall. And of course, nothing goes without a few pieces of toilet paper. You will see why. Since I've done that a couple days ago, I've also lubricated everything and it's gonna be messy, you will see. So these are the tools and let's start. First thing I'm gonna do is to take off the grips. And once I do that, I will show you something pretty neat. Again, what Bellum did very nicely. Let me show you just in a second. So here you go. Screws come out, put them aside. You can put your finger underneath and slowly pry it off like that, but be careful, this sits under these levers here, so push it up and then pull it out. The decocker might follow this grip. That's alright, simply take it. Notice it is out of 3 parts. You have this little part here, the main part here, and the spring. So if this comes off, make sure to take pictures to know how to put everything together. This is what it looks like. So put that aside. Now for the grips, something I didn't check before when making my first video, but look at that. Now that's some really nice clone correct details. I don't know if you can tell, but here we have the number 88, which means made in 1988, which is correct to this code here, double J, which is also 1988. Very nice touch. And I was thinking about to get the real grips, but come on, these are so nice and detailed. They are plasticky, and I'm sure the real ones make a better feel, but for now, come on, that's more than good. Let's put these aside. This is this part of the frame. Now let's turn it around and take off the other grip. Here we have also 2 screws. When reassembling, don't over tighten the screws, just a little bit. It doesn't need to be too tight. Also the screws are steel, the frame is aluminum. You don't want to strip the threads. Here you go. Sorry. Alright, here you go. Now be careful when taking off this part, that's the right side grip. You can push it a little bit with your finger, like that. We have here a very tricky spring that likes to fly off, and this is this spring here. Also make sure to take pictures to know how it goes in when you need to assemble it. I like to use these pliers to grab it, and you will need to disarm of the spring to pry it off from here, and then I don't know if you can see this, and then up, and the spring comes off. So here you go, it goes this way. Put it aside, and the next step you want to do is to take off this spring, hammer spring housing, and the spring in the strut. So in order to do that, you can use, let me see, yeah, you can use punch. Here is this part here. This helps with disassembly. Simply put it on the table and push it up till it goes off this retaining part, so like that. Good idea is, to push the hammer forward to release as much spring tension as possible. Hold this part here and it will go forward, as you can see here, and then simply do this and it's off. Here you go. So we're one step from taking out this assembly here with the hammer inside, and to do that we need to push out 2 pins, and the pins are here. this is one pin, and here is the second pin. If we turn it around, the large one is actually not that large on this part here, and then we have also this one here. When the first time you take it out, it will go a little bit harder to push it out, and I think after a few times it should go pretty easy. Let me try it. Yeah, I will need to tap it a little bit. Really no need for a hammer here. So I'm just, when it starts to come out, it will come out easy just by pushing it. Let me show you. So here you go, and now the second one. There you go. And you can pull them out by hand. But you need to be careful this part here. It is under spring tension, and this little spring that is inside could fly off. So try to grab it like this and slowly pull it out, and then hold it. Hold this part like that. Put the frame aside, hold it, check the other side. We're good. And the first thing we're gonna do is to make sure to keep the spring. So I will just lift this off, and the spring comes out underneath it. There you go. Here is the spring. It's really tiny, as you can see. The next thing is to take off this spring here, and I'm using these pliers here. It's very easy. There you go. Put it also aside. And the thing we are looking for now are these two screws. This screw here and this screw here. And once we take out these two screws, we can take off this cover here, which will expose the internals. Before we do that, it's kind of nice to show you how this works. So let's go to the full cocked position like this. Okay, and let's say we pull the trigger like that, and the hammer flies all the way forward and pushes the knocker, which opens up the valve on the magazine, and then the GBB fires. Okay, the slide moves back and it gets cocked again. Let's say we don't want to shoot anymore and we want to engage the decocker and have the gun unsafe. What happens? We engage the decocker. Let me show you. Like this, and the hammer flies just this far. Okay, and when we engage double action, it fires again. It moves all the way forward like this. You can tell the difference, right? Half cocked, full cocked. Let's do it again. Firing, half cock, full cocked. Okay, now let's see what happens here. These are the parts that engage with this here, and that affects the position of the hammer. And once we open this up, I will show you which part we need to modify in order to correct the decocked position. Let's do it. This upper screw here is longer, and you will see the other one here is shorter. There you go. It's much shorter. Put it aside, and then try to take this off slowly so you don't pull the other parts with it. So here it is. like that. Now the first spring we're gonna take off is this one here. One arm is here, the other one is here. We're gonna pull on this one and hold this part, and then just simply pull it off like this. Here you go. Put it aside. And then you can take off this shiny part here. You will see, you will quickly understand how this part goes back after a few times doing it. Now we have exposed the hammer, and we have the valve knocker. It is under spring tension, and you can leave it like that. There is no need to take this part out, because you can simply take off the hammer. So it is very greasy, and I will clean it off in a bit. So the part I've modified, let me see if this can show on camera good. So you see this part here. I will show pictures as well, maybe you will see better. It is very tiny and it's kind of tricky to show. But yeah, this part here, this surface here, it was more forward like this. I've used a pointy grinding bit for the Dremel to get into the corners, and then work my way around it to make it to basically grind it off, but try to keep the same angle as it was in the start. That's very important. Keep in mind when you're modifying it, keep the angle but make this part shorter. How do you know when you're done? That's actually pretty easy. What you need to take care of is that the hammer doesn't go too much forward. Otherwise it will, if it does, it will engage the knocker and move it forward like this. And when you're decocking, it may release some gas and make it cycle. Okay, so it's very important not to overdo this part. Do it slowly and check often. Now how can you check on that? Simple. Push the knocker back in its position like that, so it's flush here. Take your hammer, put it on. So just a second. Yeah, there you go. And now you will also need to install this part here. It can go without the spring. You don't have to mess around with the spring each time. But yeah, here we go. The fully cocked position, okay, is like that. And yeah, this part here on the hammer, this here, engages the knocker on this part here and pushes him forward. Okay, let me show you. Hammer goes forward and engages the knocker. Knocker goes forward and hits the valve. Okay, so if you're decocking, it is logical that the hammer must stop right before hitting the knocker, right? And this is what we got here, if you can see. See, there is one tiny little gap, like 1 millimeter, and the hammer stops here when it's in the decock position. And this is what you want to do and watch for when grinding and modifying this hammer. grind it, check so that the hammer doesn't hit the knocker on this part here. Something I've noticed, in order to get the correct position of the hammer when it's decocked to look like the real steel one, you will need to move it forward, but it will engage the knocker, and move it a little bit forward. What you're gonna do when you come to this point is simply take off some material of this part that hits the knocker. Okay, like go, I don't know, like 1 millimeter at a time, and then check often how it's engaged, as I've shown you before, and then take some more of this part, check, and take more of this part if need be, till you get the correct position, the corrected position of the hammer when it's in the decocked position. Once that is done, just check it doesn't engage the knocker here, and this is it, and you're done. Then simply assemble everything and you're good to go. Let me show you again. So the two surfaces you will need to modify is this part here. You need to make it shorter. Yeah, this is the first part, and after a while you will see you have the hammer moves forward, but not enough, and then it hits the knocker. Then you need to take off some on this part here that hits the knocker, and then grind some more to get the better angle of the correct angle of the decocked hammer. And once that is done, just simply check it doesn't engage with the valve knocker, and you're done. So if you have any questions about this, simply let me know in the comments below. But yeah, this is what you have to do. So let me do some editing magic. I will assemble everything real quick and see you in a second. Alright, took me like, I don't know, 5 minutes to reassemble everything. Here it is, and quick function check. We have double action, then decock in the right position, now double action, single action. Okay, everything is working. I hope you will find this video helpful, and if you need any assistance or have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. I thank you for that. Help me grow this channel, and see you in the next video. Bye.